G'day. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Tom, an accredited exercise physiologist, coming to you today from the beautiful metropolis of Wagga Wagga. And today I'm going to give you a brief rundown of stressors, what they are, how they affect our bodies, and why they're especially important for helping to manage invisible illnesses like fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue syndrome, or POTS, and persistent pain more generally. Understanding what stressors are can help us better manage our flare-ups, our energy, and even our daily routines. So let's get started. A stressor is anything that places a demand on your body or brain. Generally, we can fit them into three main categories. Physical stressors can include exertion or exercise, illnesses or infection, poor sleep or poor diet, and even exposure to environmental stimuli like hot weather or cold weather. Cognitive stressors are anything that tax your mental effort. These can include concentrating on one thing for a long period of time, multitasking, and having sharp increases in sensory input. Examples include sitting on your phone for a long time, or sitting in a room where there's a lot of loud noise. And lastly, emotional stresses. These are feelings or experiences that create an internal emotional pressure. They can include anxiety or worry, grief or emotional overwhelm, difficult conversations or conflict, and a feeling of being misunderstood or ignored, which unfortunately is all too common in people living with invisible illness and persistent pain. What's important to keep in mind is that your nervous system isn't very good at differentiating between these three categories. For a human body, going for a long walk, having a difficult conversation, and sitting on your phone for hours late at night will all be perceived as a load. Another thing that's important to keep in mind is that different people are more receptive to different types of stressors. For me, for example, going for a short walk or a short run does not put that much load on my body. I quite enjoy it. However, put me in a big room with all of my family and that's a lot. If you're living with an invisible illness or experience persistent pain, your body and brain might be in a state of heightened sensitivity to stresses. This means that relatively small stresses, whether they're physical, cognitive, or emotional, may lead to large responses from your body, such as crashes or flare-ups. In fibromyalgia, this may show up as pain amplification to even small amounts of exercise and sometimes even light pressure on the skin. In chronic fatigue syndrome, relatively small stresses may lead to post-exertional malaise the next day or even a few days after the stress has been experienced. In dysautonomic conditions such as POTS, standing for long periods of time or heat exposure may overwhelm an already dysregulated autonomic nervous system. It is very important to remember that this does not mean that you're being fragile or overreacting. It simply means that your biological system is doing its best job to protect you. It has simply become too sensitive and needs some gentle retraining over time. In order to help you build awareness, here's a simple task to try before your next consult with an exercise physiologist. Ask yourself, what tends to drain you more quickly? Is it physical stresses, cognitive stresses, or emotional stresses? Are there certain times of day that you're more vulnerable to stress? And what types of activity seem to help you recover from a stressor the best? I would highly recommend physically writing down the answers to these questions and showing them to your exercise physiologist at your next appointment. This can help you identify your own personal stress fingerprint. And if this all seems too overwhelming or you're not sure where to start, Just pick one stressor and think about how it's affecting you throughout your week. Understanding your own personal stress fingerprint is your first step to helping you reclaim your day, your energy, and your systems. At this stage in your journey, every small insight is progress, and you do not need to have it all figured out at once. Thank you very much for watching. If you have any questions, feel free to either email your exercise physiologist or you can email us at info@kineticmedicine.com.au. Thanks again.